Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to today's new video, which is a video reviewing all the films that I've recently watched over the last month. So without further ado, let's get straight into it because there is quite a few titles to go through. They're in no particular order. I've just put them in a pile and I'm going to pick them off one by one, review them and rate them. So let's get going. So first up, we've got the film Kangaroo Jack. So if you haven't seen this, what this is about is two guys, they get given this job to deliver this money to this bloke in Australia, and unfortunately while they're travelling there, the kangaroo ends up with one of the guy's lucky jackets on with the money in. They think they've killed him by running him over, but they actually haven't, and he hops away with the money. So they have to try and track him down in order to get the money back. So this film, it's one that I remember from when I was really young, and it's a good fun watch. I wouldn't say it's one of my favourites, but it's enjoyable. I'd rate this 7 out of 10. Decent film if you haven't seen it. If you have, leave down in the comments. I'd love to know your thoughts. On to the next one, which is an absolute comedy classic from the Farrelly brothers. There's Something About Mary, starring Ben Stiller, Matt Damon, Cameron Diaz. This is one that I remember watching years and years ago. It's really enjoyable. You've got the cast there. Ted, the main character, this is Mary, who at the start of the film he tries to go to prom with, but there's a disaster that happens. If you haven't seen it, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but yeah, there's a bit of a disaster and they lose contact, and he hires Matt Dillon's character to track her down, but unfortunately Matt Dillon's character falls in love with her, as does Ted, as does seemingly everyone who lays eyes on her. Very funny, enjoyable film. Just hilarious. Have you seen this film? Again, let me know in the comments. I'd rate this 8.5 out of 10. Thoroughly enjoyable, one I really do recommend you check out. Right, next up we've got a triple pack of films. I have seen all three before, but in this instance I only managed to watch the first one, and it is Leslie Nielsen as Frank Drebin in the Naked Gun trilogy. These films are absolute classics, and when you watch them you can see how newer comedy films and comedy series have taken inspiration from these films and in some ways copied them. You've got Frank Drebin, who is just a bumbling, inept, doesn't really know what he's doing police officer, but it makes for some absolutely hilarious, belly aching, laughing moments. It also stars Priscilla Presley as Frank's love interest and O.J. Simpson as Frank's partner in the police. These films are absolute classics. I recommend everyone check them out if you haven't. If you have, what did you think to them? I'd rate them overall 8 out of 10. Epic collection of films. Brilliant. Can't recommend them highly enough. Now, next up, we have a film which recently had a musical version. I haven't seen the musical version, but it's a film based on a book by Roald Dahl, and it stars Danny DeVito, Rhea Perlman, Pam Ferris and Mara Wilson. I'm sure you know which one I'm talking about by now. It is the fantastic Matilda. Now, this is just an absolute classic that everyone should watch. It's just a really lovely film. There's nothing bad in this film, by my opinion. And it's one that you can watch with your kids, you can just enjoy watching on your own. Basically, Mara Wilson plays Matilda, and the parents are played by real life couple Danny DeVito and Rhea Perlman. You got Pam Ferris as the head teacher of Matilda's school, who is a real sort of bully and just doesn't like children at all. But absolute classic, brilliant film, one that if you haven't watched before, you really, really should. Yeah, and an interesting fact is that Mara Wilson's mum died after the film was made, but she didn't get to see it. And actually, Danny DeVito and Rhea Perlman they didn't adopt Mara Wilson, but they brought her into their family, they looked after her, and they cared for her, which is like a polar opposite to the film almost, but I found that really sweet that they took care of her. I'd rate this film a 9 all day long. Brilliant. Next up, we've got a film which is probably a bit of an obscure title. I don't think many people have heard of it before or seen it, but I remember not seeing it before I bought it, but seeing it on the shelf, seeing the cast, reading it and thinking, I need to see this film. And it stars Jack Carroll, Asim Chowdhury, Nitin Ganatra, who was in EastEnders as Masood, Jack Carroll, who you probably remember from Britain's Got Talent, Johnny Vegas, Vicky Pepperdine, Kevin Eldon, and it is called Eaten by Lions. Now, what this film is about these two boys at the top whose parents had died. They lived with their grandmother, who has also recently died, and this character here, he goes in search of his real dad and takes Jack along with him. So you got Omar and Pete, and they go in search of Omar's real dad, and they just get into some hilarious situations along the way. It really is a great film, one that I think if you ever get the opportunity to check out, you really should. I'd give this 7 out of 10. Brilliant film. Now, I'm gonna rate these two together because they are two films. But we've got the Deadpool films. Now I'm late to checking these out. They're not ones that I'd really considered watching before, but I got recommended them by my brother and we sat and watched them together, and I've got to say, Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool, absolutely fantastic, brilliant films, full of action and adventure, happiness, sadness. Brilliant pair of films. Really looking forward to seeing Deadpool versus Wolverine. That's next that I really do want to see because I thoroughly enjoyed these two films. I'm sure everyone watching this will have seen the Deadpools and know how brilliant they are. I'd recommend these 8.5. Brilliant films, would watch them again. Ryan Reynolds and the other cast, absolutely fantastic. What more can be said? Next up, we've got a Marvel Studios film, and this is the third film in this film series. First two films I've watched before, thoroughly enjoyed. This one, didn't really enjoy as much. Not sure it's one that I'd watch again, but I had to watch it as it was part of the trilogy, I guess you could call it, and it is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad film by any means. It was good, but enjoyed Ant-Man and the Wasp much more than I enjoyed this one. This one I wouldn't watch again simply because I just didn't enjoy it as much as the first one. But if you have watched the first two and not watched this one, then you definitely should watch this one as well, just to continue the story. I'd give it a 6. I just didn't really enjoy it, didn't think it was as good as the first two, sadly. Then we've got a film starring John Cena, and it is Playing with Fire. Now, this film is about John Cena. He's a firefighter, Jake Carson. These are his firefighter friends, people who he works with, and to give you a brief outline of the story, he has to go into this home that's on fire and rescue these 3 children. And because it's the middle of the night, he has to look after them. They get up to all sorts of mischief, and everything that can go wrong does go wrong. But eventually they warm to the children, and they end up becoming part of the family. The character of John Cena adopts them, and it's a real hilarious feel-good film. I did read the reviews for this, and a lot of people weren't that keen on it. I actually thought it was a really enjoyable film and one that I would watch again. So yeah, that's Playing with Fire. I'd rate that 8 out of 10. Really good film. Recommend you check it out if you haven't already. And the last one is an X-Men film starring it is X-Men First Class, starring James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, Rose Byrne, January Jones. I've never seen any of the X-Men films before, so I know that people are probably thinking, well, why did you start with this one? It's simply the only one we own. And I don't really know what I can say about this. It was enjoyable, but it's not one that I would watch again, simply because for me it was just a one-time watch. I thought that it was good. I'd watched the other X-Men films, but I wouldn't go back to this one because it just, like I say, it was a one-time watch. Enjoyable, but a one-time watch. Have you seen this film? Please let me know down in the comments if you have. What did you think of it? Did you enjoy it? Which other X-Men films should I check out? I'd rate this 7 out of 10. Good, but not one I'd watch again. So yeah, they are all the films that I watched recently. Big stack, I know. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please comment down below. I'd love to know your thoughts on the films that I've watched, which ones you've seen, which you haven't seen, and yeah, I'd love to know your thoughts. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I know I've probably waffled a little bit, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you all next time. Bye.